right, Dan. Looks like we are ready to go.
All right. Good morning, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to chat with you again. This is just a briefing about our programs over the past few months over the summer, and just kind of give you an idea of what some of your opportunities are for our citizens to engage with us. So start with something that's near and dear to me is our 4-H program. Over the past summer, we had our 4-H summer camp back. Over 100 youth participated as campers, over 30 older youth participated as counselors, and we trained our older youth throughout the year. They went through 32 hours worth of training on various youth development topics and things like that to really build a good skill set to work with those campers throughout the week-long summer camp. What a wonderful opportunity we had to explore some youth development there. We did a day camp up in the Salmon Center. That was a wonderful opportunity to engage our North Mason families as well. I love that partnership with our Salmon Center. We also have a good partnership with our Master Gardeners. So our youth and Master Gardeners do a combined summer programming gardening opportunity. Got to learn a lot about how things grow. And then our Clover Kids program is something that's just fantastic. That's the entryway once a month program that families can participate in for free. We do it in Shelton as well as Belfair area. And they also started doing make and take programs where families can take them home as well. So it's a hands-on face-to-face activity, but also a take home as well, which is great. The Master Gardener program is always fantastic. 11 new Master Gardeners are signed up to take our training this year. That's our highest number ever. Usually we get 1 or 2 new Master Gardeners. It is a commitment. They have to do a presentation. They have to take their classes and things like that. So I'm really proud of our 11 new Master Gardeners going through that process. Catalyst Park is rocking and rolling. It's been a good growing season. Over 100 to 200 pounds of produce is grown per week, donated to our local food banks. And then the opportunity our Master Gardeners have in our community. On Mondays, we have our plant clinic at our office. People stop in and call in and identify bugs, plants. What is this thing growing on my thing here? It's a good opportunity for our community to see what's happening. Food preservation and safety. It is the canning season. So a lot of calls coming in on how to can properly, things like that. We really want to get the word out that this is a resource that people should be taking advantage of. Please don't trust grandma's old canning recipes. Those just aren't the safest. So we do pressure gauge checks as well for free to our community. So that's a great opportunity. Our small farms program, just briefly, we hosted our first septic workshop of the year and had over 35 participants at that, which is just fantastic. We partner with Mason County Public Health to put on those workshops. Our next one is in mid-October, and already 25 people have signed up for that class. So that's a really great opportunity to get some education out to our community about septic systems. Our noxious weed program continues to work on knotweed control. Kela was supposed to be here to brief with you as well, but the Forest Service grant just wasn't quite ready yet to be presented to the commission. So we're going to hold off on that, but she's doing a great job getting out in the community, having people know about what noxious weeds are and how to identify them throughout Mason County. And finally, my last one is our partnership with SNAP-Ed continues to be very, very strong. Mason County Therapeutic Court partners with our SNAP-Ed program, where those participants get to participate in what's called Plan, Shop, Save, and Cook. So they learn how to make meals, healthy meals on a budget, what to do with that. And that's a skill set a lot of people really enjoy. So that's a great opportunity with our Therapeutic Court folks to partner with a program right here in Mason County. So that's just my brief program update. I gave you the program to look through in its entirety. I'm really proud of all the efforts that we put in. Our staff really try hard to meet the local needs and connect with our community, and you can really see from our program outcomes as well. So just 2 updates for you on upcoming things. 4-H Bingo is October 1st. That is our 4-H kickoff day. That's when our new 4-H year starts. I can't believe we're already starting a new 4-H year, but here we are. So you're all invited to that as well. It's at 2 o'clock up at Public Works this Sunday. And then we will be at Oyster Fest as well. We're going to have 2 booths, one extension as well as a noxious weed booth. A great way to get to the community to kind of showcase our programs as well. So with that, are there any questions, commissioners?
Man, you guys are busy. Any questions?
Thank you.
Yeah. And I would really encourage people to take a look at your presentation that you did today. It has a lot of really good information. 4-H is wonderful, and
Thank
to
you.
have people to introduce it to more people, I think is the way to go because there's so much that they can learn.
Well, I would encourage folks to check out our Facebook page as well as our website has lots of great information on it. So
Yep.
I appreciate your support, commissioners. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks to your team too.
All right, thanks, Dan. Let's move on to our sheriff's office. Oh, no. We have the EDC. Sorry, I jumped ahead. Hey, Jennifer.
No worries. We'll just get through the presentation quickly, and any questions that you have would be great. Wanted to say thank you for this time. Wanted to bring you up to date on the work that we've been doing with the Economic Development District. As you guys remember when we first talked about this is that update to get us reconstituted, to get everything back moving. So we've been doing the updates in the project structure, mostly at the EDC board level. But we are getting close to that point where we've got the public draft of what that review would look like. So wanted to invite, we have Jason Robertson here, who is the consultant for the project. Wanted to invite him to be able to give you guys a good update on where we are in the process, and kind of let you know what those next steps are going to be. We do have a Mason County section, which I've used the recompete work to echo the priorities there: housing, infrastructure, workforce development. We are also including our last SEDS project list, and we can talk through that a little bit on what that looks like. We did not go through the update process this time, as we haven't yet set the governance structure and what those local prioritized lists need to look like. That's kind of the next step after we get the report done and we get the EDA approval for this district. So I'm happy to answer questions before or after or during. This is going to be pretty back and forth. So I'll kick it over to Jason and let him do. He's got a PowerPoint for you. I'll let him run through the update on the report.
Thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, I'll share my screen real quick. This is a very brief presentation. Have no fear. So just a little bit of background. So you used to be part of Colpack Economic Development District with Grays Harbor, Pacific County, and that district sort of faded over time. And so Thurston County, who was not part of a district, asked if you wanted to reconstitute a new economic development district. And so I'm going to start with big picture. What we're trying to do here is form a new district with Mason, Pacific, Grays Harbor, and Thurston. What we're going to need from all of you at the commission level ultimately is adoption of a resolution approving formation of the district. And we'll be back in October to request that. And between now and then, we'll release the plan so you can review it, ensure that you do want to support the district. We've been working on all the data and the background, all the stuff you've got to do to form a comprehensive economic development strategy per federal regulation. We've got 100 pages of a plan in draft form that we'll release shortly. We'll have a public review process so that anybody who wants to look at it can look at it. And we're trying to establish 4 county priorities, like where do we overlap, and I'll get more into that later. Ultimately, each county commission needs to approve it, and then EDA has to approve it, and then the governor has to approve it. We have shared the draft with the EDA administrators, and they said it's excellent, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. Just a little background about economic development districts. This is actually authorized through U.S. Department of Commerce, and the EDA is who we would be reporting to. There's 380 federal federally recognized districts across the United States. And in Washington, only Thurston County and Walla Walla County aren't part of an existing district. So this is nothing new. Most of these districts were formed decades ago. In fact, going through this process, we're encountering people who have never seen the formation of a district, only updated plans. So it's been kind of interesting. So the CEDS is the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy that the federal government can look to. So if you have identified in your CEDS any kind of potential project that you want to get funded, you're going to be more competitive having formed a district than not. We have to remind ourselves as we go through this so that Commerce, their priorities are retaining or creating jobs or leveraging private investment. This is not a social services plan. It's a straight economic development priority. You can see at the bottom of the slide here, these are the types of projects that we can get funding for. So what we found here, we can often get planning grants through the state or federal government, but it's hard to get infrastructure investment grants. And this is what we're trying to set up, being in position to get big money for substations, land development, those sorts of things. Every year, EDA releases its priorities. These are the kind of projects they're looking to fund. And so you can see for this year, at least, they're interested in equity, recovery, resilience, workforce, manufacturing, sustainable development, and so forth. So I mentioned what I think is kind of interesting is, so construction, non-construction, planning, technical assistance, those are traditional funding categories for EDA, but we're pretty excited about the revolving loan funds. One thing that all of our counties have in common is the need to update marine facilities. And some of those are privately held, obviously. And so revolving loan fund allows us to invest in those and update them periodically over longer periods of time. So this, the EDCs for the 4 counties have been coordinating for years. And so I think while we don't have the governance structure complete yet, I imagine that the CEOs of each economic development district will be the representative for this new federal district. And their job is to coordinate with all the stakeholders in the individual counties. So it's a pretty natural setup. There's no cost to Mason County. So the EDA provides $75,000 every year that you're an eligible district for administration. And I think the EDCs will fundraise some additional funds from other sources to help attract a talented leader to coordinate the district, because it's a lot of work to put together all the grants and do the reporting, but we're not asking for money at this point. So this is almost like your Pack Mountain district, except Lewis County is part of a separate district with Clark County, and that's where they're going to remain. So we just thought, well, we call it the Pacific Salish because it goes from the Pacific Ocean to the inland Salish Sea. And also EDA wants to fund tribal projects, and Salish is a tribal name, so that's how we came up with that. The plan has a lot of data, SWOT analysis, what's working, what's not working, what do we need to fix. We looked at every community plan we could find to get background and understand what people are already trying to do, so we could just enhance the plans that you have put in place. And that's that. There's more data, but I don't think you guys want to see that right now. So what we're, again, just to recap, you used to be part of the coal pack. That's defunct. We're starting a new district with the 4 counties of Grays Harbor, Mason, Pacific, and Thurston. We think it'll be operated through the Thurston Center for Business and Innovation because they have space. And we will fundraise to match the federal government grant for administration. And this is basically, at the end of the day, a new tool to do the things you were already hoping to do. So I'll pause for questions.
All right, commissioners, any questions or comments?
A quick question. I'm not sure if this is maybe more for Jennifer or for Jason, but in terms of the kind of the process for how the EDD is governed, if there are, I think, to be fair, Thurston is a much different county than Grays, Pacific, and Mason in terms of rurality and population and capacity and things like that. But if there are issues where one or more of the counties are competing for funding for a similar project, kind of what's the proposed troubleshooting process for that to clear any conflicts or ensure that there's some equity in terms of being able to apply for things, and
Yeah.
how will that be governed?
Yeah. So couple multi-part answer. So it's about a 500,000 person region, and about 350 of them are Thurston. So your point taken. Yeah. But what we've decided to do is have equal one person, one county, one vote. So we could have weighted it on population, but we decided not to, for the purposes you outlined. Like, we want it to be fair. So there's 4 counties, and each one has an equal vote on what to prioritize. So there's, within the plan, this is the part we're sorting out now. This is the last piece, which is what are each individual county priorities? Because there's 2 places in the plan. We have priority projects. These are things ready to go, right? And there's no reason each county couldn't apply at the same time and just be judged on the merits of its application for a project. Then there's a second section, which is, goals and strategies. And we've tried to include strategies that would cover just about anything you can imagine that you would want to apply for in the future. So in the end, I don't think there's going to be a lot of competition. I think people are going to apply because we're eligible wherever you are in any of the 4 counties. If there comes a time that we have to pick one project, then the 4 EDCs will have to make their pitch, and then we'll have to vote.
I would probably add that the funding and the grant writing that we would be doing through the EDD will be to outside reviewers for those resources. So if Grays and Mason went after a pot of money both at the same time, we're still both putting in a separate application, so that the entity that's funding it is the reviewer. It's not the EDD.
And just for clarity, so for the one county, one vote, is that our EDC representing the county's interest in that with that vote, or kind of
that's the idea. So each EDC director is responsible for navigating their internal county politics and priorities, right? And conferring with you, and bringing forward the individual county preference or priority for moving forward on any particular issue. In my mind, it's just the cleanest way to do it, because the EDCs already coordinate, and they coordinate on Pack Mountain workforce issues. And so they need to be, the directors need to be aware of what the priorities are for their individual counties. And anything more complex than that slows everything down, because, and this is probably the most important point for today, this district is simply a new tool to do more things that we want to do. It doesn't supplant any power or roles or responsibilities. It just makes us eligible for new pots of funding that we couldn't compete for in the past.
Great, thanks. Super helpful.
Jennifer, if you don't mind, explain to the commission why the last one failed.
As I remember it, and Randy, I think you were sitting on our board at that time. Lynn Longan was our director. The Economic Development District had funded its own staff. It was based out of Grays Harbor. From what I remember, that staff wasn't completing the goals that they had set. And so it was a decision from all of the entities that sat on that board. I believe it was a EDC representative from each county and a county commissioner representative from each county, decided to essentially blow it up to rebuild it. And I think with just the timeline, that rebuild part never happened. So now.
And the competition between counties, as Kevin was alluding to, that actually was an issue that was coming up at the time and being discussed. And some counties and stuff were not feeling like they were getting the full representation. How will we be handling the SEDS list? Are we going to run our SEDS list through them? Are we just adding it to an overall SEDS list where all the counties are put together? And will there be prioritization of that SEDS list?
So a couple of answers to that. Yes, we can add the SEDS list to it. We can set it up still as a local list. From what I understand, and Jason, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we would set up our local prioritization process. It's not something that the EDA is dictating this time around. They're actually moving away from specified lists. From what I've heard from EDA, they've said to make sure that the work or the type of projects that you want completed are mentioned there topic wise, so that you can refer to the SEDS report as the place where this project says it's important. So if you're mentioning infrastructure, if you're mentioning housing, that's an identified priority as a whole within the report. So it makes any project that would fall under those headings part of that report.
So we have, so in the main body of the plan, after our, the vision, goals, all that, we have what we call the priority projects. These are projects that are kind of home runs for EDA, right? They're job creation, retention. They're projects that you're ready to go on, but for lack of funding. But then I'm creating what I call, I think it's Appendix C, and I have all the possible projects that Mason County might want to pursue in that inventory, so that should a funding pot open up for a particular kind of project, we can reference that it exists in our plan, because we had the foresight to include it at the time. And then what we envision, so I think EDA says you should update your plan every 3 to 5 years. Well, we can update our projects list every year if you want, right? So if something comes up that we hadn't thought of, we can update our plan, resubmit it to EDA, and just keep current so that we're ready to act on any opportunity.
One of the issues and concerns or questions that I have and I worry about, though, is when these things are put together and they are prioritized, because you're going to set up your own special list on the side, those will get prioritization for the available dollars as well. And we would want to make sure that we're not creating something that becomes a competition for our own actions of trying to get those dollars. Because a letter from your group or our group at the time prioritizing that project will put right over the top of ours.
Well, I know that the EDC directors have approached this in collaborative fashion. That's the tenor that has been set, and I think that people are willing to stand down when there's something clearly, if we have to make decisions on what's more important than something else at a particular moment, that they want this to be like a consensus making operation instead of a battle. So like I said, what we have to remember at the end of the day, we didn't have this tool and now we will have it. So it's just enabling us to pursue projects. I don't, ultimately, not all these will be EDA funded projects, right? It's any kind of federal government agency. Like, we have access to all of those now. And so that federal government will judge applications for funding based on the merits of the individual application. Where we'll probably have to make some decisions is if we have one person coordinating administration of the district. You know, are they developing a grant for Mason County, or is Mason County developing their own grant, and this person kind of watches it go through the federal channels? In other words, yeah, we'll reach a moment where all 4 counties may want to put an application forward, but this person who's the administrator will only have capacity to move one forward. So we all 4 counties will have to pull some of their own weight to take advantage of this.
And then does somebody review the applications for completion, you know, just to make sure that everything is included?
I imagine this administrator will have to do that just because these are so complex, right? And the one thing I skipped over, unfortunately, I'll come back to, is that oftentimes these projects require 50% match, right? So if you're saying I want $10 million to put in a new substation, you're going to have to come up with the other 5 from somewhere, whether it's a private partner or county funds or city or whoever is the instigator of the proposal. Not always, but often they require a match.
And sometimes the match can, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, property. So,
Yeah.
Or other things that are already in the area. So investments.
Oftentimes, yeah, it could certainly, if you're providing the land, that would be considered match. Often in kind. You know, you have a person whose salary is $100,000 working on it full time, that you can count that. There's different ways to get there.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I can see how, you know, and again, as Jennifer had mentioned, I actually was the member on that other one. So I do remember, and I do remember some of the pitfalls that came with it. I am definitely still interested because just like anything else, it has the opportunity to be good, but it also has the opportunity to be bad for us. And we need to make sure if we go forward with this in the first year, we need to make sure that the parameters are set in a manner that our county is protected from creating our own competition and our own pitfall that we can walk into. So perhaps in their structure and how they are created or what they say, there is something in there that keeps that prioritization strictly from happening when there's a competition between them. Because you literally will fall to the bottom of the list because we are not a big county. We don't have as much to offer that way. So when you have this organization, as it would happen in the past, a few get it all. And that's where the problem runs in. It doesn't mean it has to be that way. It could be structured where it doesn't. I'm just saying that if we do this, I would definitely like to see within a year how that structure was created to protect us from that.
Yeah, totally agree. And everybody involved to this point is very sensitive to that. In some ways, you're actually more competitive than Thurston County because, you know, this was originally set up for to assist distressed communities. So some of the markers for Mason County are stronger than Thurston County, right? And also some of the projects that we're contemplating for Mason County by scale will have much more impact than some in Thurston County, right? So you create 1,000 jobs in Thurston County, no big deal. You create 1,000 in Mason, you cut unemployment in half. So you know, we definitely are aware of those challenges, and you know, maybe I'm naive, but I'm hoping that at least if we start off with a consensus, one county, one vote, that we can move things forward. And as you know, each county gets a project and they stand down for the next one, right? We're going from not having anything to having something, you know, or a share of something. And so I feel pretty good about it.
Right. And well, we need to try. There's no harm in trying for something.
Yeah.
Commissioners, anything else?
Just a question on process. So can you just kind of line out what the expectation is for us in terms of the resolution and key dates so that we're able to kind of think ahead and look at the calendar?
Yeah. So The EDCs are all convening, I think, is it this week, Jennifer?
It's tonight.
Tonight. There we go. That's fast. And then after they kind of meet with each other, they'll loop back with me, and I'm hoping that we'll have a link out to the public to look at the plan and make comments. And then we would like to come back to you, I believe it's October 16th, with the resolution, and the resolution has a bunch of whereases, wherefores in it, but it basically says we support the creation or the adoption of the comprehensive economic development strategy and the formation of a new economic development district. And if you approve that, and all the other 3 counties do as well, then we're off to EDA to say we've got our resolutions adopted. Here's our plan that you've already seen and liked. And will you approve it? And if they do, then probably in November, they'll send it to the governor and say, these counties adopted a new plan and district. Do you approve it? And he probably will turn that around fairly quickly. And hopefully early 2024, we're looking for an executive director of our new Pac Salish district.
And we just reached out to Mackenzie to see what was available, and the 16th was the date that was available. I'm happy to look at the 23rd if you guys want more time to be able to review the plan and submit comments. But we just wanted to make sure that we were on your schedule. That was just the first date that came.
Yeah, I'd love to have some time to review, but if we can, I don't know, if there's a sense of urgency that it needs to be finished by the 16th.
The final deadline for submission to the EDA is November 1st. So working back, we knew it needed to happen in October. That was when it was free. I'm happy to shift it to the 23rd. That would give you a full month to be able to review and submit your comments.
The EDA distinguished for us, there's 2 different things. The SEDS is due November 1st. That's the plan. If it took us longer to form the district, that would be okay. But our contract is for the SEDS completion. That's due November 1st.
I think I'm probably okay with the 16th.
Yeah, I would vote for the 16th too. That would be good. Commissioner Netherland, 16th good for you? All right.
And we have the resolution drafted, so I wanted the EDCs to meet with each other and say, good, are you good? Are you good? And then hopefully next week you'll see that, so you can think about it and ask questions, and we'll be ready to go on the 16th.
All right. That sounds good.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Now we're moving on to the sheriff's office.
Morning, commissioners.
Hey, Travis, or Undersheriff.
Oh, Travis is fine. Yeah, so we wanted to come talk to you today about something we've talked to you about in the past. We've briefed several times in the past about the recruiting challenges we have over at the jail, and kind of the balance between the number of inmates we have and the number of staff that we have to manage those inmates. And so we've got a situation coming up where we've been right on the edge of what we can manage with the number of personnel that we have within the facility, and with a few situations that we have coming up, the situation is going to be exacerbated here for the next couple months. So I've got Chief Hanson on board to kind of explain the situation and then make a proposal for the commission.
Hey, good morning, commission. So I think you have a briefing document in front of you, which I submitted last week, and Mackenzie had or I had submitted the wrong one. There was 2 copies of that briefing, and I'm referring to the one that talks about the staffing being problematic, and I'm specifically referring to the budget impact. I think Mackenzie said she was going to give you guys the updated copy. Did you guys have a copy of that, or did you see it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. So I think the difference between the one that was originally submitted and the updated one had to do with duration. So we're asking for us to review the outsourcing come February. And I think that we said that the cost was going to be estimated at $51,000 a month for a total of about $255,000 for us to outsource 20 people. And that was to reduce the jail population to around 30. It was going to allow me to reduce the minimum staffing in the jail from 4 people to 3 between the hours of 0600 and 2200. And that was in anticipation of a contract being signed between us and Chehalis Tribal Jail. And since then, Nisqually's come back, and Nisqually, and I just matter of fact, just now got a confirmation from them that our prisoner housing contract with Nisqually is approved on their end. Tim's approved it on our end, as well as Nicole with Risk. So we have a Nisqually contract that, if you guys decide to sign it, is ready to go, so we can start shipping people off. The difference between this Nisqually contract and the one that I referred to in the briefing document is the daily rate. The daily rate is $130 a day for Nisqually, which is significantly higher than the Chehalis contract. I do not know if the Chehalis contract's even going to fly because of the whole sovereign nation language that we had discussed with Nisqually, and that the city worked out with Nisqually to try to get that language to meet our needs. So I don't know if that's going to work or not. But and as I mentioned in the draft, the outsourcing to Lewis County is not an option at this point, because they're have booking restrictions on for the same reason that we do. So that's where we're at. I guess we'd have to get on the agenda for the actual contract, which probably won't be till next week, so for you guys to review. But that's kind of our plan. We have, like Undersheriff said, next few months we have several more vacancies coming up, for medical and short-term vacancies. And there's one guy in background right now. Well, there's actually 3 people in background, but one guy's near the end of the background. And of course he won't be ready to go for months. So we are hurting.
Okay, commissioners, any questions or thoughts? But I do have a question. So I know that Kitsap County they're doing well with their recruitment and retention. Have you checked with them to see if they have, about their daily rate?
For housing prisoners?
Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't.
I'm just wondering if that might be an option.
I can reach out.
They're a little bit closer.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Chief, does your cost estimate of the $225 that we got on Friday, does that include the transport component of it as well? That's all in?
Yep. And with the adjustment of the staff and us reducing our minimum staffing from 4 to 3, we anticipate being able to take 2 of the existing leftover staff, well, not leftover, but reallocated staff, and dedicate them for transport Monday through Friday. We take somebody off a 12-hour shift and move them to 8s, basically, so they can take care of the transportation problems.
And then
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner. I wanted to throw in one thing in there. The dollar amount that we put in for the briefing was for the Chehalis jail. However, the amount for the Nisqually jail is not the same. The Nisqually jail is $130 a day per person, which comes out closer to $80,000 a month for 20 people rather than 51. Just to be clear.
As we move forward with this, I just can't help but say, please, we need to consider the other options. This should be a temporary thing only. We should address this every week until we get over this temporary issue. We should be looking at the headhunter that I'd recommended a year and a half, 2 years ago. We should be looking at making it so regular corrections officers don't have to be basically certified. We should be looking at any option it takes to have regular deputies in there to be able to maintain what we're going to need to maintain. I'm going to go ahead and support this. I just wanted to tell you that I'm still hoping for us to do other things, to all the above, not one, just all the above, until we get to the point where we get over this critical mass situation.
Yeah, it's unfortunate this is across the state that all jails are having the same issues. I wish that there was a way that we could find a quick and easy fix, but I don't see that happening too soon.
Yeah, I think we're past quick and easy.
And just for the record, just so the commission knows, it's not like we haven't been trying to do anything to hire people. I mean, I've dedicated a full-time recruitment officer a year and a half ago that went to all the job fairs, and we've got, you guys have approved hiring incentives. We have done social media blitzes. We've given free tickets to public safety testing to apply for Mason County. And I don't know what the answer is. Well, I have my own ideas about what the answers are, but it goes beyond your level. Well, your level and above. So.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that there's not a lack of effort on your part. So truly appreciate you guys and appreciate you looking at other options as well. We don't want to not provide a service because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, for sure.
The commissioners, this won't help today, but it still could help tomorrow if we would reconsider hiring a headhunter to go out and get these. We could even partner with the county to be able to do more than just headhunt for this particular situation. The thing I worry about there is you get peanut butter flavored bread or peanut butter sandwich, and if you cast your net over everything, you get peanut butter flavored bread. In the beginning, I'd like to consider us hiring a headhunter specifically for this position, at least in the short term. And I'm not saying take it out of their budget. I'm saying we add it into what we're doing to make it happen. This is for the good of everybody, and if we don't do something soon, that's one of the low-hanging fruit we can do. I'd like to see us do something soon. Maybe we can brief on it next week or so.
Yeah, I would support that. I think, if we asked Mary and her team to come up with a proposal to get that started, I would be open to that for sure. I'm cautiously supportive of moving in this direction with the contracts for outsourcing. I do think we need to have regular reporting back to the commission on the status of it. And I think that serves two benefits. One, we're keeping track of the financial component of it, but we're also keeping this issue kind of front and center for the public as well, because I think there's a certain level of expectation that we all have from the public in terms of how we approach public safety in the community. And I want to make sure that we're being open, honest, and transparent with the people of the county about what constraints are on us right now in terms of being able to hold people accountable, with the current situation in the jail. And then I also think having the kind of the dual reporting on not just the outsourcing, but what the right expectation for an inmate population in the facility that we do have is going forward as well. being able to report out on both of those on a regular basis. I think monthly is probably fine. But getting that population report and having the financial component addressed, I think is going to be really important for me. Also really important is we do have a meeting coming up with our legislative delegation to talk about the funding that they secured for a potential new jail. And I appreciate the effort of our legislative delegation on getting that funding to us so that we can start to look to the future a little bit. But I also think they need to have a little bit of a discussion about the reality that we face in the present tense as well. And I think having this conversation with them in the next couple of weeks is also really critical.
I'd be more than happy to, do a once a month briefing or once every other week, whatever you guys need. We can just schedule it on a regular briefing basis, and I can pop in and send you update you on the numbers and our current situation. Also, I have like yard signs over here. I have like 150 like campaign style yard signs that I would like to give you guys and to all your neighbors and friends to post in your yard that talks about hiring corrections deputies. So if you have a chance, stop on by and I'll give you some yard signs to go start posting around the country.
Actually, drop some off on mine. I will personally drive around and put them on the old political corners and stuff like that.
Awesome.
I have no issue doing that. I'd be honored to do it. The other thing I'd like to say is for Mary, if I'm not mistaken, Kitsap County has hired a headhunter to help with their corrections. Can we consider looking at them and seeing what opportunity is to get somebody that we know is already effective somewhere else in doing the same thing for us? I'm not saying to go though. I'm saying please consider it and look at that as an option.
I have a meeting with their HR director this week, actually, and also, the offer is always open for partnering with corrections. A couple ideas we bounced off. We'd love to hear back about. So we're here to help.
Okay. We'll consider their person because if I'm not mistaken, they were very successful. And copy and paste.
Up to a point.
Okay, when I'll get you guys that contract for signatures and approval or whatever, and hopefully by next week, and then we can touch bases then and see what we're going to do as far as moving forward officially.
Now, Chief, you'll only be using this as absolutely necessary, right? We're not buying a block.
No, that is absolutely correct. Yes, it's per diem.
And just out of curiosity, if you could just check with Kitsap to see if they are accepting. And
Yeah, I can check. Yeah,
if they're cheaper than Nisqually, then that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Times have sure changed. Nisqually used to be the inexpensive one by a long shot. Well, Forks was the least expensive.
Yeah. So, Sheriff, I see you in the background. Is there anything that you'd like to say?
Well, it's an interesting dynamic right now. This is our sick kid that goes to the hospital. They're getting all of our attention, and that's important because our jail is almost to that point where we are in an emergency type situation. So we appreciate all of your cooperation and willingness to help. And we're trying everything. Our guys are thinking outside the box. They're changing things. We've examined everything that we're doing on how we're getting people into the doors, and we're going to continue to do that.
All right, great. Yeah, so look forward to more discussions and finding solutions to our problems.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioners.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to Superior Court. Hey.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is pretty straightforward. This is a continuation of a contract. We need a signature from the Commission Chair on continuation of a contract between Washington State Healthcare Authority and Mason County Therapeutic Courts, part of the Superior Court system. It is $91,500 for each of the next 2 years. It is it is unchanged from what we have been doing, and just allows us to take that money in.
Any questions or comments, commissioners?
Free money.
I'm all good. Sign me up.
No, I think this is good. This is helpful. And I think our treatment courts are you know what would be kind of, I think I would like to have is maybe like a report on our treatment courts and their success rates. I think that would be cool to have maybe in the future.
We'll make that happen.
Okay. Very cool. I guess
30
you're
seconds. I was looking for this taking 30 seconds. How they do?
you did good.
Excellent. Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's move on to public health. Dave, are you on there?
Going on. Okay, there we go. Okay, good morning, commissioners. So we have 4 items this morning, starting off with me. And the item I have is a contract for treatment of hepatitis C. This has been a big priority for Dr. Gardner. Mason County has been identified as one of a number of counties, I think 5 counties, that are way higher than average on latent hep C cases. We've had funding the last couple of years to address this and have not been able to get a provider. We now have a provider. This has been coordinated with Dr. Gardner and with Wendy Wong to provide treatment case management for hep C. And the funds are within our foundational public health services funding specially set aside for treatment of hep C. So this contract is included for your looking at today, and then I hope to put it on the agenda for next week.
I like it. Commissioners?
Good with me.
Supportive.
Okay. All right. Then next we have Melissa.
Morning, commissioners. I've got 2 items. First item is also a contract renewal with Healthcare Authority for the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program lead. So we've got the contract directly with HCA for a little bit over $1 million, as well as a subcontract with Olympic Health and Recovery Services to actually do the boots on the ground intensive case management services. So if approved, we'd like to move it to I think it's October 10th action agenda.
Sounds good to me. Commissioners?
I'm supportive as well.
Supportive.
Thank you. Second item is a new job classification. It's a WIC coordinator certifier position. I have this big kudos to Mary at HR. Thank you for helping me with this. It's taken a little bit to get this position really kind of nailed down. Originally, we wanted to do 2 positions, a coordinator and a certifier, but just given we don't really know what the initial caseload is going to be for WIC, so we've combined this position. The position description is attached. If approved by the board, we'd like permission to go ahead and post it.
Commissioners?
Good with me.
Just make note that if funding dries up, that it's connected to the position, and I'm supportive.
Yes.
You know, I am just super excited that this is coming back to Mason County. We had it for a while, and then one of the committees chose to not do WIC in Mason County. It was so frustrating for me. But so I'm super excited that we're providing this service again. So awesome.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Next we have Ian.
Morning, commissioners. This item is a contract with Mason Conservation District. Earlier in the year, we engaged in a joint grant proposal with the Conservation District and the Squaxin Island Tribe. And the Conservation District is getting a bigger piece of this funding, and they're doing a lot of farm planning and agricultural outreach with this funding. And our part of it is a educational piece for water quality education, where we're going to conduct 2 public meetings per year for the next 3 years for water quality education, septic which will involve, septic maintenance, and anything on properties that can potentially run off and cause water pollution. It's focusing on North Bay and Oakland Bay. And there's also some funding for some educational mailings and some meeting announcements. The goal is to try to get people in certain regions where we have downgrades to go to some of these meetings and share some information with them about clean water and how we achieve clean water. But it's $57,480 for the next 3 years. And if you're all in favor, we'd like to move it to the October 10th action agenda.
Commissioners?
I'm good. I'm supportive.
Yep.
Looks like you got 3 out of 3.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Monday.
Thanks, you too.
Okay, Commissioners, that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Any questions or anything for Dave?
I have a few I'd want to talk to you about. I've been getting some people commenting and getting a hold of me regarding certain properties. I have one that they're saying that is become not just a wrecking yard, they're advertising it as a wrecking yard with vehicles without titles. So you're already aware of this one. What are we going to do?
So Ian is working on that one. We'll get with you offline and kind of run you through the process of what's going on. I think that's the one, if you and I are on the same sheet of music, that's trying to apply for an ecology approval to be a wrecking yard, but I don't think they'll be able to get that approval. But we can talk offline and really dig into the details.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Trask, I did send you a response to one that you had from a couple of weeks ago. We have been out to that site and looked at it, and you have today's update. So,
all right, thank you so much. Yeah, there's a lot going on out there.
Yeah, there's just so much in code enforcement that yes, there's many things going on.
Yeah, and unfortunately. All
okay.
Right. Anything else? All right, Dave, I guess you're free to go.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so Public Works, who do we have on for Public Works? I see Mike.
I'm here.
How are you?
Good. Morning. Long morning for you guys. I just got a couple items. One is to set a public hearing to establish the speed limit on Sunny Slope Road and Kelly Hall Road. Those are two of the roads that we chip sealed this year that were kind of gravel conversions. And then we'd also like to revise the speed limit location for Brockdale Road. So a little detail on that one. The city came to us and asked if there was something that we could do about the speed limit there at Brockdale and Island Lake. And because our 30-mile-an-hour zone started right at their city limits. So what we did is a little evaluation and determined that, yeah, we can move it to the north and create a little more heads up for people to slow down before they get to that intersection. It's actually an intersection that has quite a few little accidents on. So we'd like to make that adjustment and then establish 25-mile-an-hour speed limits on Sunny Slope and Kelly Hall.
Sounds good to me, Commissioners.
Yep, good setting the hearings.
And then the next up we have a request to set a hearing for a road vacation request number 415. Tony and Shannon Herbert, Lakeland Village, and the Lakeland Community Club have both requested that we vacate a little roundabout that's not a roundabout, a little cul-de-sac that's East Island Place. This cul-de-sac's never been developed, and matter of fact, we didn't even know we had it. But so we'd like to set a public hearing. What is it, November 8th, to have it heard in front of the hearings examiner.
Just so we can clarify, that's before the hearing examiner, not in front of the commission.
Yes, the hearing examiner.
Right. All right. Any questions or?
Just a clarification on the date. Is it the 7th or the
My sheet says the 8th, but I guess we'll probably go to 7th, wouldn't you?
Well, I just saw
Oh, for
here
here.
on the request form, it says 7th.
Does it? We'll verify that.
Okay.
Oh, hey, this is Kel Rowan from DCD, and hearing examiners are typically held on Wednesday, so I'm guessing it is November 8th. I could clarify.
Thank you.
So we should change what's in our agenda item summary to make sure it reflects properly the date of the 8th. Thanks, Kel.
All right, sounds good.
And that's all I have, except for some public hearings tomorrow on the transportation program.
All right, commissioners, anything for Mike?
Mike, I sent over a couple of emails to Loretta and haven't heard back. I'll just hit you up with a couple. I think I already know the answer to one of them anyway, but I got to ask because I told him I would. The Rotary is asking if there's a possibility of using generator lighting. They're having a big community open house event. Is that something that they can talk to the county about and try to find a way to partner up to use that? That's question number one.
I would have to check and see if we even have such a thing. I did in Pacific County, but it hasn't come up here, so I'll check and see what we have.
Okay, basically just the outdoor lighting. And then the second is I've received several of people walking into the streets on Clifton Road by Safeway because the brush has become so overgrown that they're having to walk over. Can you please send somebody out to take a peek at that and see if we can get that cut back, please?
Yep, we will do that. We're currently most of the crew is over there putting that pipe in the ground there at Little Shoe Fly started today, so we are in the area and we'll be able to take care of it.
And if you can, make sure you put a request in to have the street sweeper and the crews come out to clean the sidewalks and the gutter areas for Belfair. We have to actually ask him usually every year or 2 years.
Anywhere particular?
No, I'm just throwing it out there because I have people saying how bad it looks and stuff, and I just know that it's not something they do normally. We have to basically make a phone call and then they come out and bring a street sweeper with them and cleans it up.
Okay, got it.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Schutte?
Just word of thanks, Mike, for getting those pictures over to me for the chamber presentation last week. Always good to represent the work that your crew is doing, so appreciated your responsiveness on that.
Hope it helped out.
Sure did. Thank you.
All right, Mike, I've got nothing except for thanks to the crew, and I know that they're going to start getting busier for a different season, so it's all fun.
It's coming, isn't it?
It is. I don't think it's coming. I think it's here. It's slapping us in the face. Making my hair super curly. I don't know what to do about that one. I don't think you have that problem, but that's okay too. Sorry, Mike.
Got hair on his chin.
We have nothing else for Mike. Thanks for showing up.
Anytime.
All right, let's move on to support services.
Start us off with John. John, are you on?
I am, sir. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. First thing I'd like to start with, commissioners, on the agenda is the, make sure I get it right here, the activation for Oyster Fest. We're currently working with the committee for the Oyster Fest that's coming up, and based on the corrective actions that were recommended for the McEwen fire, we created the Unified Command Group because the EOC was expected to be activated during the fire, which in the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan says that the fire districts and the chiefs have the ability to ask for the county's Emergency Operations Center to be activated. However, we do not have the staff to do that, which we found out on July 4th. There's 3 of us in the office. One was on vacation with left 2 of us. There's just no way to operate an effective emergency operations center with just 2 people. So using a unified command group, which we presented to you earlier, which allows us to place the staff that we do have in E911, which is where all the messages come in, where all the traffic goes through. We put 1 with incident command, and then we're going to put 1 person out at the fest itself. And that way we're able, if something happens, to activate efficiently and effectively, quickly getting resources out there and letting you folks know in leadership if there are incidences or situations that are going to happen. As part of that, we've switched over from an alert system to code red. So we're going to send out test messages, which you folks are part of that. So we wanted to let you know in advance that when you get those messages, they're going to say tests across them to let you know what's going on and to ensure that you're part of that notification system. If by chance you do not get those, let us know, please, and we'll try to figure out why you're not receiving them within code red. Code red does let us know it goes out, but it doesn't let us know who receives them. So that will be an important piece to ensure that you as leadership are in that notification system. Are there any questions about that?
Just a curiosity, how many duty officers do you have?
3, counting myself, yes. That's all we have. So it makes it difficult when one's on vacation or out of the nest to do what's needed. So we're in the process now of getting county employees trained so that we can use the code which you folks have passed, which is County Code 2.19, which states that county employees are to be used as emergency workers. The challenge is that they're not trained to what that level means. So it makes it pretty difficult to say, hey, you guys need to go into the emergency operations center, and they show up and go, okay, now what do we do? So it's trying to get them trained in advance to ensure that they have a viable position when they do activate.
So is there a way or do you have a system to get the word out to others that are not county employees that might be interested in being a duty officer?
We're in the process of now recruiting, but what we needed to do was to put a training program together so that when we do recruit them, they know exactly what their criteria is going to be for that. And I know, ma'am, your husband was one of those. So we're hoping that we can reach back out to him when he does have time to bring him back. But it's one of those positions when you start looking at it, it's not a hey you. We're not able to just bring somebody in to be a duty officer because there's too many things that are contingent upon their knowledge level, especially search and rescue and things of that nature. So it's not one of those positions where we can't have somebody that isn't trained or doesn't have a familiar background with what's required.
Right. Yeah, it's not, and being woken up at 2 a.m. is some people don't appreciate it as much as others.
Well, and to be honest, there's a challenge because even though they do it for volunteer, when you don't have as many and you have to fill the position more frequently, it makes it difficult. We're asking a lot of people to do for nothing other than serving, the county, which they do willingly. However, it can be a challenge when we have to use them more often.
Right.
So is there any questions on that?
Commissioners, any questions?
Not for me.
Doesn't look like it, John.
So the second piece is in any emergency management program, we try to sustain the program, get it to where it needs to go and moving forward. So the second thing that we have on your agenda is our movement forward, which is assigning to emergency support function 17 cybersecurity. We've created a county cybersecurity group, which is made up of county entities as well as school districts, the PUDs, the fire districts, and nonprofit and for-profit. organizations. The importance of this is the state of Washington does not have a organized or legitimate cybersecurity program that's been identified by the Department of Homeland Security. By us doing this, it one gives us the ability to come in as a group, two, to secure what that group does so that we can work on security issues to ensure that our networks are safe. And three, it gives us the opportunity to put in for cybersecurity grants as well as to get assistance from the Department of Homeland Security, who does technical assistance to networks. And it also gives us the ability, if we ever are attacked, to seek assistance from the federal government because we are an organized and identified cybersecurity work group. We've also added the tribes to it, which makes us multi-jurisdictional as well as the city. So we have a fairly robust group. What we're asking for is to be able to have the commission pass this as an emergency support function and add it formally to our comprehensive emergency management plan, so that it identifies the group as being a working, bona fide Homeland Security protection group. Are there any questions on that?
Just a comment.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I was just going to say, I really appreciate that this is coming together. I mean, this is just a great opportunity for us to work with other entities in the community and strengthen the cyber safety net. And so I know TJ has been talking about this for a while. Mike Evans at MaceCom has been talking about it for a while. And it's really good to see everybody sort of pulling together and taking us down this path. So just a word of thanks.
Well, that's basically what I was going to say. So that's perfect. Commissioner Netherland?
I'm good.
All right.
All right, that's all I have, Commissioner.
All right. Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Mary, you're up.
Good morning. My first item is our lead pay annual review. So as part of our 2024 budget process, we go in and review lead pays annually, making sure that we still have the need for it, that there's essential functions and what the financial impact would be. Attached are what the departments were sent after 2 reminders for their 2024 requests. And we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, most of them out of general services. Not all the requests filled out that they were posted in accordance with the CBA, but I'm pretty sure that they either told me anecdotally or I have in an email that they did, but they just didn't put it in their submission form. And so this is the list that is being presented for approval to go in the budget process.
Commissioners, any questions?
And Mary, just to be clear, you're supportive of this list?
Yes.
Okay. All good with me.
Same here.
Thank you.
Well, there's one.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, never mind. I see it. I answered my own question.
Oh, okay.
I'm good.
Okay. So the second item I had this morning was the career incentive pay review. I kind of threw in some excerpts from the policy just so you can kind of look at the different definitions of licensure, professional certification, and then a certification program. Up to the commissioners how they want to allocate, but the policy outlines that pay up to $10,000 for licensure a year, $5,000 for professional certification a year, and then up to $2,500 for certification programs, depending on the needs of the county for all 3 of these. An employee shall only be approved for 1 incentive pay from a professional certification or licensure level, not both. And the certification incentives are going to be limited to 4 per employee. And so attached is a summary. And then I put in the actual requests themselves. And that way the employee could justify to the board the benefit to the county. And then the actual assignment of pay I would leave up to the board as well. I have verified that all of these are not currently in an employee's position description, and so are actually incentivizing outside of their normal functions to go above and beyond.
Mary, I think there's a miscommunication or misunderstanding of what this was supposed to be, unless I'm wrong. The commission would come forward with things that are needs and provide for abilities to get these compensation benefits by fulfilling the needs we have and what we want to do in a department, not the other way around, not what they get, not what they do, not what they come after and ask for a request. For example, if we wanted you to have an engineer degree in this particular arena, we would want to compensate to have you get an engineer degree in this particular arena. If for a building department, we wanted to have a special compensation for having a special certification, the commission would come forward and put that forward that way. It could maybe be brought to us through maybe the director or something like that, but for the most part, it's supposed to be the other way around. We look at our needs and we put out and ask people to fulfill them. One great example is something that just happened at the Mason Transit Authority meeting. Commissioner Trask had an idea and a concept that, to me, I'd like for us to eventually talk about, because it was in my opinion the best way to handle something like this. They have a compensation that they are providing for people that speak different languages, speak Spanish and stuff. Commissioner Trask had talked about the idea of looking at like a desk audit and finding out what areas where that's really needed. Not that you just get one for having that, but for example, you're at a desk where you are dealing with public and that is absolutely needed out there. We should give them a compensation for that. After that statement, I hope I'm saying it correctly, Commissioner Trask. I apologize, jump out in front of you on that. I went and did some looking and found out that there are certifications that can be done yearly specifically for that. I sent a link to you, Mark Neary. It's in your phone, that allows for them to be certified in up to 26, 27 different languages as we see fit that they may be needed in that particular department. Not just somebody working on a road crew, but yet somebody that's working up in the front. But I just wanted to clarify, I don't think that it's meant for them just to keep going out and getting an education and see if we'll pay them for it afterwards. If anything, that is set up to be see if we will pay for their education for the things they want to go after. That's the way we'd always done it in the past, but that's my opinion. First of all, Commissioner Trask, did I couch what you said correctly?
Yeah, you did. Good job.
Okay. I hate speaking for anybody else because I could get it completely wrong.
I think I'm maybe along the similar lines as Commissioner Edelman on this. I think my understanding was that there would be some discussion at the administrative level with HR and the departments and determining kind of a master list of certifications that made sense. I completely respect everybody who submitted here and I think that's fine, but I was under the impression that we would be approving different kind of certifications and then having, if people had them prior or went and attained them, then we would be approving their ability to participate in the career incentive program that way versus sort of self-selecting and having people just put in different certifications that they've gone after or whatever, which, there may be a different discussion to have there about our, how we support staff and their career growth and their training and everything like that throughout their career here. But for the intent of this program, I was sort of expecting that we would have kind of a menu in policy that would grow over time, that people would then be able to utilize or take advantage of the incentive that way. So I don't know what kind of a timeline we have here in terms of like needing to approve this today, but I sounds like I'm at least might want to have a little bit more discussion.
And to throw in a few, for example, in the department, in the corrections department, I've had these conversations with the sheriff, but we have to wait until they want to bring it forward, substantially from them. For example, a trainer, somebody certified as a trainer might get extra in corrections or even law enforcement. Somebody certified as a master trainer, which is a complete, bigger animal. Somebody certified in EMT, somebody certified in psychological or trauma training. that's what we were talking about within the departments. But we still need them to come forward with that.
Well, I think too, on top of that, there was the element that I thought we were really interested in, which was sort of vetting these certifications against a curriculum or a. So, you know, when I look at like we had I think a lengthy conversation with Kel in planning about AICP certification and things like that, where there was sort of a national standard to which those certifications and licensures were, you know, vetted through. And so I was also sort of expecting that there would be that level of scrutiny on these things. Again, not to take anything away from the certifications that people have or that they went for, but I think we were hoping that there would be some discussion of kind of the criteria, you know, the curriculum, all those types of things factored into, you know, determining eligibility for a certification itself to be included in the career incentive program.
Mark, would you mind, not this moment, would you mind finding that text I sent you? Because I did not send it to the other commissioners for that certification. If you could maybe send that to them. I didn't want to create an issue there. So they'll see what's going on. And it goes along with what Commissioner Trask was talking about. And I think us going through and finding out which ones that would really truly be beneficial to the county, the home, and to the citizens at large, it could be a no-brainer.
Yeah, and we actually have some of those in place already, Commissioner. So, and really depending on the agreement that you operate under, if you're a union employee, there's different language in those agreements regarding the verification of that ability to translate.
Yeah.
So I do.
This would be for the actual certification through a certification class, and it'd be a different extra stipend, not just because they know how to speak it, so they get it because they're there. This is something completely different that would give it something that's, as Commissioner Schutte had talked about, it's verifiable. It's you know, regionally accredited and understood that there's a level they have to have in order to reach that.
So Mary, don't we have some of those now?
Yep.
So yeah, I definitely can pass this along, and it's another organization that that does do exactly what Commissioner Netherland is saying, is it verifies that those individuals have mastered that language and could translate it correctly.
So I just want to go back because there's specifically in the policy that was just approved, the last action agenda item, it says how employees are to apply, and that there's a form, and that the employee can actually put forward what they would like to put before the board. And so this is kind of how we're going to create a menu, and we can say, okay, these are the ones in conjunction with department directors and HR where we feel there's the most need, but otherwise we're not going to know all the needs that are out there or what certification options that we have unless employees are talking to us. And this is a great way for them to be engaging with the board when you're brought this information to kind of look through and see, and you know, the certifications are applied and their justifications, some of them put websites. And so if there are areas that we can pursue to kind of look through and, you know, vet at a different level, and you'd only like to see the ones that are vetted at a different level brought before the board, that's totally fine. But I think that we need to be listening to the employees and what do they have to bring to the table that we may not know about, because I'm not an expert in all the areas of the county as much as I'd like to be.
Well, it's okay for them to bring it as ideas, but not to get funding. For the funding, it has to come from us to decide that this is what we want to empower with the department. So we could take this information and say, thank you. For example, I saw one that when it came to water quality or water, wastewater and stuff, certifications, I know that there's different areas where that would be important to have and to get them to move forward, because we're always running short on people with certifications in that. But that'd be a question that we'd have to have as a commission if we want to go that way, but we need the department to bring that forward as ideas that we'd like to see if that's what we want to empower and if we can prove it.
So currently the policy says that the board or designee in consultation with HR, county administrator, and or the department head will review the applications, and then they come before you for decision on compensation and whether it's a need for the county. So if you would like, if you would prefer to not see this raw and have it vetted with Mark and I and the department head before it comes to the board for approval, that's a step we can add in to this approval process if that's your preference.
That is one preference, but the main one is the reason for it being offered as a compensation strategy. That has to come from us first. Now they can make recommendations what they'd like, but we have to decide what's important, what we need to add money to make sure we have a bench of educated people on that specific matter, not just on anything and everything, but on what we decide from the top down, such as engineers, such as certain training for language, or whatever we decide to put down for it to go from the top down on that. That's what the compensation strategy is meant for, is the idea of building a bench on the things that we feel at the county we need the most to have a bench on.
So the one that I'm familiar with is the one for the licensure and wastewater systems, and so that one is something that I've actually discussed with Loretta. Definitely can bring some of that information back to the board to talk to you guys in detail about why we need that and why it's important to have. And what happens if we don't have one, right? So what happens if we don't have an individual? And so creating an opportunity to encourage individuals to go out and get those certifications or licensures definitely benefits the county as we look forward, wanting to plan to have individuals that are able to maintain the health of those systems. Super important. So creating an incentive for individuals within our groups to do just that. I think that's something that is important, but definitely can bring that back before the board and have an in-depth discussion.
And then after that, Mary, then they go to you and you come to us and say, you think they have met this level of certification and blah, 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 along with agreement with Mark. And then we go forward with changing their pay based on that. That's how I think it was supposed to be structured.
So there's two that are out there right now that are new. And there is two that are renewals. Is that correct?
Right.
So as far as the renewals go, the commissioners are comfortable with those. Those were created when we started.
Yep. If you feel they still meet the level, then I'm perfectly comfortable with it.
Okay. And then the two new ones that are out there, we need to set up some time to come back to the board and have a discussion on as to why they're needed and why we think it's important.
Well, and I think that the employees did put on their applications the benefit to the county and what they believe they're bringing. But I'd also want to be careful about us as leadership not picking and choosing which groups and saying these ones are more important than these ones without having varied conversations. And I think that the employees having a voice of, hey, I don't know if you even knew this was a certification, but I'd like to throw it at my, throw my hat in the ring for consideration and see if maybe it is a need that we as an organization didn't realize we needed to have met.
Okay, but Mary, it is a top-down one, not bottom-up. And I probably appreciate them putting up there for consideration and for us to think about it as a board. But it is a top-down one according to the needs and the shortcomings we have at the county. That's what this was designed for. So there's nothing wrong with them saying, hey, look at this one. Is this a need and stuff? Nothing wrong with that. But that the process we as the commission would look at is whether or not to create a compensation strategy for a specific issue, item, or certification. And then it's up to you guys to decide if they meet that. So you can make an argument with us later whether this is something that should be given special compensation. I just don't see it as being an individual person coming before us that way.
Is there specific criteria that the board wants us to go through this vetting process using to determine the need outside of feedback from the department head, Mark and I?
Well, you can tell us, you can start doing some research, find out where you think we're falling short the most, the things that we need to have a bench on. But for the most part, we've kind of moved away from it. Me and Mark need to get back on getting with some of these department heads and electeds and having them make their recommendations on what they want so the commission can look at it. But they were supposed to they have their recommendations. They know the departments better than we do. I know that, for example, in public defender, one of the things they were looking at was arbitration training and certifications. That's just one example. I already mentioned some for corrections and law enforcement that were being looked at and being considered, but they need to say it, not Randy. You know, if they don't say that it's needed, then in my opinion, it's not needed. They need to tell us that will make us a better department. This is where we're running shy. You know, I can tell you right now, having many people that are certified as EMTs in the jail will only benefit us to risk pool and everything else. But it still shouldn't come from me. It should come from them.
All right, any other feedback?
Not for me.
All right, thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
All righty, Jen, you want to jump into your financials?
Yes, good morning, commissioners. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, beginning with the general fund revenue for August. Comparing 2023 to 2022, we have received $30,188,979 through the end of August, compared to $29,397,117 at the same time last year. So we're at 71% of our total budgeted revenue this year, compared to 72% last year. Any questions before we move on to the treasurer's revenue detail?
Nope.
The auditor being shy 90 grand, do we know why?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know that there was that question raised a few months back, and the auditor did have a response for that, but I forget exactly what it was. Maybe something to do with grant revenue, and yeah, I don't remember, but I can look back and see what that was.
Yeah, please do. And the next one, of course, would be the sheriff at 140,000.
The sheriff's, I do remember theirs was mainly due to the jail outsourcing of the city of Shelton, I believe.
Oh, okay, that's right.
So the treasurer's revenue detail. So we have received $20,001,578 through the end of August, compared to last year $20,364,906. We're at 70% of our budgeted revenue in that department, compared to 75% last year. And the major thing, it would be the property taxes. You know, we didn't do the levy shift, and then the city county assistance is down quite a bit over last year. So those are the two major things for the decrease, or for the, you know, the major, I guess it's not much of a decrease, but anyway, any questions on that before I move on to the expenditures?
Nope.
We're still ahead of where we estimated would be, right? I mean, 66 versus 70.
Right, yeah. If you're looking at it on a month by month basis, yes, we are still ahead of where we thought we would be at this point. The expenditures for the general fund so far through August, we have expended $28,397,840, compared to the same time last year, $26,175,635. We're at 59% of our budgeted expenditures this year, compared to 60% last year. So everything looks pretty good overall there. And moving on to the special funds, the 6-year recap. Community development revenue is slightly above last year. detention and correction services is a little bit down. Property taxes a little down because of the levy shift. Road diversion is a little bit up over last year. Property tax is for county road is up, and then sales tax continues to go up. Criminal justice taxes and entitlements is just slightly up. And then the rural sales and use tax fund is up. Community services homelessness prevention filings is down. Lodging tax is up, and then REIT is down over the last couple of years and more in line with 2020 levels.
Yeah, we've kind of stayed close. We're at 24% now. So
moving on to the detailed county sales tax. So our sales tax continues to climb. We have received $931,329 in August, so that would have been collected for the month of June. If we receive exactly what we did from September through December of last year, we will receive 9.6 million in sales tax revenue. So we only have 8.4 million budgeted. So that continues to look really good despite the slight downturn in the economy that we've seen. So moving on to the 6-year financial recap. So we have at the end of August, $28,487,995 in cash, and you can see all the reserves up above. And keep in mind that that does include the $795,000 of the LATCF funds that were fronted to us that we need to expend at some point. Again, we're at 71% of our budgeted revenue in the general fund and 59% of our budgeted expenditures in the general fund, which is very in line, both revenue and expense, with the last or the previous 5 years. Excuse me. The special fund cash balances, we are looking at $60,016,108 compared to the previous 5 years. That's an increase of about close to $5.5 million. And the majority of that, of course, is in the American Rescue Plan Act fund. We have 6.4 million sitting there. So any questions on any of that? Moving on to the motor pool. We're at 51.7% of our budgeted expenditures in the motor pool through August. So we've expended $885,000 roughly. The benchmark being 66.6%. And then the capital upfit is where we're not expending, or the capital upfit fees. We just haven't had those vehicles come in like we had budgeted. So moving on to the special fund revenues, we have received $39,398,740 through the end of August, compared to $43,535,595 last year. So this year we're at 65% of our budgeted revenue in the special funds, and last year we were at 54%. On the special fund expenditures, we have expended $32,901,374 compared to the previous year, $30,564,728, and we're at 43% of our budgeted expenditures in the special funds compared to 35% the previous year. So any other questions or comments before we wrap up this briefing?
Not for me.
Thank you. So the next thing, and I'll stop my share. The next thing that I have to brief is the 0.09 applications. So we're bringing this back. We have received 2 applications. One is from the Belfair Sewer, and that one is one we receive, or that we give out funding to every year. 450,000 is what we've typically given to them, and that's what they're requesting again. 450,000 for 2024, and then 450,000 for 2025. And then we received an application from the Economic Development Council for 99,000, which is 9,000 more than last year's ask.
And as we go out, I think we're going to be expecting one from the city of Shelton as well.
What are they asking for, Randy?
They've got different things that they're looking at, but I expect that they'll be coming to us with a proposal, but it doesn't have to come at the same time as ours does anyway. That's why we put out the letters, to let them know so they could also consider if they have any uses and stuff that are needed. But I'm, with that being known and them being in the queue, I'm ready to go out and get the letter out personally. I just wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity to pay attention to it for the things they need. And I wanted to make sure we had the money to do it. And historically, just we originally, when I first came in, we were giving them over 200,000 a year. I think it was 239 to go towards the sewer program, and I think we're down to 109 now. So I would think there'd be some capacity for them to offset some of their costs and thoughts, and utilize the 09 funds as well, considering that's what it's meant for. But it's up to them to do the ask, not me.
Yeah, just got to remind them that their projects have to be on the SEDS list.
Yeah.
So commissioners, if you're okay with these 2 applications, then I will ask that we can circulate the letters to the city and the ports, and then put this on the October 24th agenda for approval of these 2 applications.
I'm good with that. Is the EDC's request on the SEDS list?
Part of the administration of the SEDS list program. So the 0.09 funds can be used for administration too.
Yes, and economic development and the like. That's why when you said it has to be on the SEDS list, I'm not sure that it actually has to be, but the projects do.
Correct.
I'm okay with the letter going out.
Yeah, as am I.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all I have until our budget workshop.
Alrighty, so the next item is something I have for the commissioners. It's our 2024 take-home list for vehicles. So it is specific for Kelly Frazier, Roy Beierle, Jeremy Seymour, Grant Deshawn, John Ronald, Roy Ledoux, and Pete Metcalf. So majority of those folks are for work for our Public Works Department, and Kelly is our facilities manager. And after reviewing the requirements associated with what it takes to have a take-home vehicle under the IRS rules, we agreed that all of these individuals would qualify for take-home vehicles and recommend approval from the board.
Good with me.
Sounds good to me.
Same.
So the next item I have for you, I've got a couple, like 3 items coming up here. And a lot of these have to do with the recompete grant process. So the first one is from the Ignite Mason Coalition. So this is a new coalition that was formed. We signed a similar letter a couple weeks ago where the board approved this type of basically outline for what we're asking for. And I'm coming to the board to ask them to sign this new letter for Ignite Mason County. So Ignite Mason County was kind of formalized after that initial letter was approved, and this letter would also be approved under the commissioner's signatures.
Sounds good to me.
Thanks.
Great, thank you. The next item is, as part of the recompete, we would be identified as the lead agency for the recompete grant. So that means all of the funding that came to Mason County for the recompete grant would actually come through Mason County. So I've talked to the board a little bit about this in the past in terms of what does that look like for us and additional workload. We've got some specific items written into the grant request to bring on some additional staff to help us deal with these things. And there is a copy of the lead letter attached.
Also good with me.
Same.
Me too. Do we have any idea how many additional staff we will need?
Well, so we put into our budget a couple of financial analysts. It would like a grant writer and a financial analyst, and that's something that Jen helped me put together some numbers for. Through this program, they're also recommending that you hire a recompete plan coordinator position. So this is a new position that we'd have to create here in Mason County. I'm going to have to work with Mary on that to determine kind of what classification it would fall into to determine the total cost associated with it. So both Jen and I will sit down with Mary and kind of talk to her about here's the qualifications that we're looking for, and get a recommendation from her on the type of position that would need to be created. I'm sorry, I just got a message from Jen. We actually put in a grant writer that was actually separate from recompete stuff, right? So commission has talked about bringing on a grant writer that was a centralized grant writer, could be utilized by offices and departments throughout the county to help apply for grants. And that would really be the administrative process. So all of the details associated with applying from those grants would still have to come from the departments and offices, but this individual could help us coordinate that, and there's definitely a specific skill set associated with writing grants that we'd be looking for. And then we had the 2 financial analysts on top of that, and that would be specific to recompete management of those funds.
Sounds good.
And I'm not sure if Commissioner Netherland, did you want to brief this next item?
Sure, I'll just take it up for a minute. This is just another letter of support basically for the Arc of the Peninsulas. We were just briefed, what was it, 2 weeks ago, showing all the things that they have now taken on within our community. This is just to keep them continuing in the good stead with the organization to be able to receive those funds and continue to move forward. I was very proud to see how much they had taken on. When I first joined them years ago, they had promised that if I joined the board back then, which I'm no longer a member, they would bring services to Mason County. Well, boy, have they ever. So this is just another way of showing support for that, so they continue to do the same good work that they've always been doing, and maybe even reach out and do a little more.
Absolutely support this. I think they're doing a great job.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing this forward, Commissioner. I'm supportive as well.
So before we move on to the next item, I did forget one piece in the recompete process that we're having to do as the lead agency. One of the things that they want us to include in our application is community commitments. So these would be commitments where we would say, hey, Mason County or this entity within Mason County would be willing to take a specific action in order to increase the opportunity for individuals to join the workforce, get family wage jobs, and help our economic development within the county. So some of the things that we've discussed in the past a little bit is that Mason County may be willing to expand our internship program. So allowing individuals the opportunity to come in and work at the county kind of get familiar with what that looks like on a daily basis. And if those topics they're interested in that, then they absolutely go on to college and hopefully remember Mason County when they come back, and potentially provide opportunities for those individuals through college too would be nice. I think that some of the other items that we need to talk about is defining specific competencies that would benefit entities within Mason County. If there's any opportunities to reduce or eliminate the 2- and 4-year degree requirements within specific jobs. To host or invest in programs to reskill or upskill talent to meet current and projected regional skills needs. So this isn't funded through this program. This is something that we'd have to work with our local community service organizations to create. Partner with training providers, educational systems, unions, and other labor organizations to create accessible on and off ramps for training and employment. So I think that we're going to be reaching out. Jennifer Baria is going to be reaching out to our union representation here within Mason County, at least a few of our bigger ones, and ask for their support in us applying for these funds. Hopefully that additional economic development would create jobs that potentially could benefit those unions. Let's see. Invest in regional wraparound and support services, networks, and providers through financial or in-kind investments. So like licensed, potentially providing family support services like daycare services for individuals that are trying to find jobs and need daycare services, or flexible work schedules where appropriate, where employees could still do their caretaking responsibilities yet maintain a job. So these are some of the things that Mary and I are going to be looking at here in Mason County specific to our jobs to say, hey, can we do some of these things and what would that look like? Increasing outreach to traditionally underemployed populations, at-risk youth, formerly incarcerated people, and veterans. So I think that is, we have a pretty big population of, or a high, appears that per capita, Mason County is kind of plagued with this opioid overdose deaths. And as part of this Recompete grant, trying to identify avenues and pathways for individuals that have suffered from maybe some consequences associated with actions that they've taken, and defining clear paths that would allow them to get back on track, get specific training and access to potential jobs. I think that's one specific to Mason County that could be very beneficial. Or we could host or co-invest in earn and learn experiences. So like registered apprenticeships for individuals with a particular distressed neighborhood or geography. Know that Commissioner Netherland, you had the opportunity and have a relationship with our Guatemalan population up north in Belfair. Those traditionally have been very difficult to get into that group to actually talk about some of the benefits and identify opportunities where that they could work with us and gain access to some of these programs. So I think utilizing some of those relationships and specifically highlighting opportunities for those individuals would be extremely important.
You direct, I'll follow.
Mark, I think I saw some correspondence Friday and today. Mary had landed on hosting and co-investing in programs to reskill or upskill talent, and there's a letter of support associated with that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did not see that. When?
So I talked to Mary about this on Friday morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was with you on that conversation with Mary on Friday morning. Did you?
Yeah.
And then she was going to get back to us, and I guess I did not see that.
I think the draft letters this morning, but on that particular commitment. But I think all the ones that you listed are really good. I just think there was the one that she thought was the most practical.
And that was this morning that she sent that to us. Oh, here we go. So if you could update her, because I actually have not seen some of this email thread, so appreciate your input on that, Kevin.
Yeah, so just out of the menu of options that EDA presented for people to consider, Mary had a chance to kind of review this a little bit last week and landed on host and co-invest in programs to reskill or upskill talent to meet current or projected regional skills needs with a focus on distressed communities or underrepresented populations. And so a commitment to Mason County would conduct assessments of the population to identify these areas that are of highest underrepresentation. And human resources would work with partners in the community to develop and implement these types of programs based on the needs that they identified. Some deliverables along those lines would include number of programs, participants, and then a measurement of the outcomes. And so part of this is sort of coming together late as there were a number of public and private commitments made, and it seemed like the one area that needed to have some strength put into it was a commitment from the county. And so just tight turnaround on a commitment on this, just to get the application into EDA by the end of this week. And so this is really the only opportunity to brief and get a letter of support for that onto the agenda for tomorrow.
So thank you for bringing me up to speed on that. And I did find that email, and it does look like out of all those things that I kind of listed off that were opportunities for community service organizations that we would want to identify in our letter, Mary feels this host or co-host invest in programs to reskill and upskill talent to meet current or projected regional skill needs with a focus on distressed communities or underrepresented populations. So Randy and Sharon, is that something that you guys would be supportive of?
Oh, absolutely.
So we can
Yes.
include that in we'll include this specific item in our application letter under Mason County and something that we would be willing to do. Is that correct, Commissioner Schutte?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, I think to that, Jennifer Baria, anything else that I forgot that I need to get back to you on?
No, you went through the list of recompete stuff really well.
Alrighty, great, thank you. So with that said, we will go ahead and make those additions to our, we'll get these letters signed, and we'll make some additions to the application specific to this goal. Nicole, sorry to keep you waiting. You want to wrap us up?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. So I'm just back for an additional request for defense and indemnification for an additional named defendant, Joel Harris. He's the volunteer chaplain for the Mason County Sheriff's Office for the case that's referenced in the briefing documents. Just requesting that this gets moved over to tomorrow's agenda for approval.
Sounds good.
Supportive.
I am as well.
Thank you. Appreciate
All right,
it.
so that's the end of our list, Commissioner.
Mark, the only thing I didn't see on our list is the recommendation from the audit committee. Are we doing that next week or?
And are you talking about the recommendation for the purchasing?
Yeah.
You know, I'll have to follow up on that, Commissioner. I agree. I thought we had a recommendation from the audit committee to move forward with the purchasing adoption of a purchasing policy as it was constructed, but I do not see that on the list, and I apologize. Last week I was in a conference, and so I'll have to do some work and find out where that's at.
Mark?
Yeah.
I thought that we were going to take that to the state auditor's office again first, before it went to the board. For their purchasing guru to take a look at.
Okay.
Tammy had offered up.
Okay.
Is that right? I mean,
well, I think that they actually voted on the audit committee voted on bringing forward the policy as recommended, but
it makes sense to do that anyway, and just brief us on a Monday. Now, are we having meetings on Columbus Day? Is that next Monday?
I think it's 2 weeks, and yeah, I think we traditionally do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no problem with it. I just was curious. My wife asked. I answered to her.
As you should.
Hey, I admit it.
all right. So Commissioner Trask, that's all I had.
All right. So now I'll turn it over to, Commissioners, do you want to take a quick little break?
Yes, please.
All right. So let's take a 5-minute break. Was that good enough?
That'll work.
All right. So I'll be back in 5 minutes. What time is it? We're back at 12:25. All right, Commissioners, are we ready to move forward?
Yes, Madam Chair.
All right, Jen, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. Okay. Good morning again, or afternoon. Did you want to say anything else before we get started, Commissioner Trask, about the budget? Sorry.
No, it's just another adventure.
Great. Hopefully I can make it through this okay. My head's kind of snotty.
Maybe just a little.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay, here is the 2024 proposed budget as of today, and this is what was turned into the packet for you, commissioners, and the public. So this is where we're at. So the 2024 maintenance level budget, starting out with the beginning fund balance, I'm estimating right now at 26 million. I think that estimate is going to be a little bit low, and we'll need to relook at that. So that could change. And
Jen, can you make that just a little bit bigger?
yeah, let me see.
What, that number or the picture?
Yes.
I think we'll be closer to 28, but that's all right. I can help.
Yeah,
there.
I think 28 is going to be probably a more reasonable estimate. I'm going to share my Excel portion of this, version of this, a little bit bigger. Oops, wrong one. Okay, is that a little bit
Now
better?
you're talking.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, so our 2024 maintenance level budget as of right now is beginning fund balance 26 million. Estimated revenues for the departments are at $42,496,973. Estimated salaries and benefits for the expenditures are $33,242,636. And this amount does not include the 2% that was approved for non-union. So I will be adding that in and bringing that back next week. The operating is at $15,494,244, the operating expenditure budget. So for total expenditures of $48,736,880. The estimated ending fund balance remaining would be $19,760,093. So the budgeted FTEs, and this is for the general fund. Sorry, I should have stated that to begin with. The budgeted FTEs in the general fund are 282.67. And this is an increase over last year. The 2023's adopted budget, the revenues, $4,571. Salaries and benefits, $1,325,775. Operating expenditures, $237,732. And for total expenditures, the increase is $1,563,507. And the increase in the FTEs at this time is 1.12 in the general fund. So anything that you want to go over at this point before we move on to the special funds and where they're at?
Nope, good job.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the special funds. They have an estimated beginning fund balance of $47,093,993. Their revenues are estimated at $63,939,503. Their salaries and benefits are estimated at $15,328,653. Operating expenditures, $54,672,515. Ending fund balance is estimated at $41,032,328. And their total budgeted FTEs are 131.13 for 2024 at this time, which brings the grand total estimated budget for maintenance level beginning fund balance $73,093,993. Total revenues $106,436,476. For grand total revenues $179,530,469. And grand total salaries and benefits $48,571,289. Total operating expenditures $70,166,759. Total estimated ending fund balance $60,792,421, which brings the total expenditures to $179,530,469, and total FTE count at 413.8. And as you can see, the revenues balance to the expenditures overall. And we'll go back to the general fund if there's no questions at this point on the special funds. Any questions or comments right now?
No.
Real quick question for you, because total operating costs for all funds combined,
Yes.
isn't that the 130, 959?
Oh, yes, sorry,
Okay. All right, thank you.
180. I have the ending fund balance and then the operating costs separated in here.
Yeah.
So that that is 130,959, 180, yes.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I was looking at the right one.
Okay, going back to current expense. You can see the variance. So the difference between the 2024 maintenance level budget and then 2023's budget, the increase in expenditures is 3.21%. The increase in salaries and benefits is the greatest, of course, and a lot of that has to do with having our contracts settled. Normally at this point in time, there's only been a few settled, and now we only have a few that are outstanding. So that's awesome to be able to budget for those. We are in the maintenance level budget, $6,240,000 over in our expenditures, as opposed to our revenues for the time period of 2024. But there's a couple of factors, including that one, the salaries, the contracts being settled. I think that maybe we can increase our revenues a little bit in certain areas, especially in the sales tax area. So that would be, right now we're estimating 8.8 million, and we're looking at bringing in 2023 9.6 million. I'm thinking maybe 9.2 would be a good, still conservative number, but not.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Jennifer. I literally was on my head, but at the same time, I'm not so sure that that's going to be that conservative of a number. I think it's going to be, unless things change.
Yeah, I mean, which they could, we could go into a recession here. I mean, I know, the feds are trying to make us have that soft landing right now, right? So keeping inflation down while keeping the job market good, and that's a hard thing to do, especially with oil prices and other factors. And there's a million factors in there that could affect the economy. But yeah, I think 9.2 would be a good solid number for us.
Plus an additional 2 on cash ending fund balance.
Yeah, I'm thinking about 28 million would be a good number.
Yeah.
But I'll go back and analyze that a little closer too. And Commissioner Trask and Schutte, are you okay with the 9.2 million for sales tax and then increasing the beginning fund balance to 28 million?
I am.
Yes.
Okay, and then of course we'll be adjusting our property tax to be the same as what we end up having our resolutions be, but I believe our property tax at this moment is about 170,000, budgeted at 170,000 more in 2024 than in 2023 to account for new construction. So it's already increased a little bit. We have approximately 320,000 in bank capacity for right now in 2023. So if we don't take the 1% property tax, we'll be looking at roughly 420,000 somewhere in there in bank capacity. And so so I'm pretty comfortable with the 6.2 million right now. When I went through budgets that people had turned in, a lot of the supplies, you know, if it was just a slight increase, I put that into their maintenance level budget if it looked like they were going to go, you know, over on their supply line. And same with other small items like that. Some of their professional services, if they've increased by contract, of course, you know, we put that into maintenance. So I tried to be conservative about it and gave them a little bit of wiggle room in there. So if we really needed to, we could go back and probably pare down some of those items, but I don't see a need to at this point.
Commissioners, can we just get it out of the way now? I personally feel that we're in a good enough position that we should not be looking at the 1%, but instead banking the capacity.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, me as well.
There you go. That takes that off the plate then, Jennifer.
Yeah, and that's you know, a good plan. We can bank it, and then if we need to have it in the future, we can look at taking that. But right now, with our cash balance the way it is, I don't see that coming in the next several years. And then
I'm comfortable right at the moment, but let's see where we're going to end in the end. I think that's a question for later anyway.
Okay. Great. So that's about all that I wanted to point out in the general fund. Did you want to go over PLRs?
I myself, I think we should have the narrative from the other departments and electeds first, and then let them have a say at that time. Right now, what I asked of Jennifer was, with her masterful understanding of this budget, to go through and separate out maintenance and operation and you know, maintenance levels for us, just to simplify it for us. So,
are you wanting that at this time, or true?
Yeah, she already has. By doing this, she's gone through and looked at what we would normally look at and consider to be you know, maintenance. And I don't see anything that on here that I would question her on. I think it's 100% what she's put in there is maintenance.
Yeah, she's kind of skilled at this, isn't she?
Yep. So by doing this, it simplifies what we do with the rest of the electeds. As the only thing they have to do is, if they see something that they think that should have gone into maintenance and she didn't agree with, they're welcome to bring that up to us. And if they have a request, they're welcome to bring it up to us, and we can say yes or no, move on, or hold it for another time, and we'll be through this quicker rather than slower. And thanks again to Jennifer for all the work that she does to get us to this point, because this is a very simplified process when she's done with us.
Yeah, agreed. In looking through some of the PLRs, through some of the with different departments, I'm interested to hear why the requests, or why they're making these requests.
Well, thank you, commissioners. Yeah, every year gets a little bit better, easier. So thanks for your confidence.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we won't go over the PLRs then until next week, next Tuesday, the 3rd.
Yeah, have you put out for them to give a narrative and to see which ones they even want to question?
Yes, I did send that email out. I can send it out again.
Yeah.
To make an appointment with Mackenzie.
Because if they don't argue with it now, I'd like to, you know, with the other stuff for maintenance level adjustments, I want to put them behind us. If they have an argument with it, then I want to hear it up front so we can decide as a commission and move forward.
How many appointments have been made? You requested them to make appointments. I'm just wondering how many departments have already made their appointments, and whether they need an extra reminder.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that I called Mackenzie this morning to make our appointment. So yeah, that's the only one that I know of for sure. So she did mention that a few departments have called her or emailed asking, but I'm not even sure which ones. She didn't say.
So this is a subtle but not so subtle reminder to have them, departments that are out there listening, call and make your appointment.
You know, for example, when it comes to us, look at the 10% projected risk pool insurance. I think that's just a maintenance level. I don't even think that needs to be there. I think it needs to move over. But that would be the departments. Or if we want to do it now, we can go through some of the stuff we see as maintenance.
Yeah, we can do a quick rundown if you want to do that. So the assessor is requesting 5,000 in OT, and personally, my feeling on that, because the treasurer was also requesting that, and she decided to revoke her ask. But I feel like if they really come to the point where they need the OT, then we would do that as an amendment in 24. That's just my own personal thoughts on that.
I agree.
I agree.
For the auditor, they are asking for $409,475 for a chief deputy position. They had some training. They are asking for a financial analyst. The Tyler conference, which I had kept out separate from the training, since the training was, I believe that was for the auditor himself, and then the Tyler conference was for financial services. Reclass of 11 positions.
The Tyler conference, is that something that you think is necessary, that we should be just?
Yeah, I think it's a really good.
Because I do too.
I know Shannon went last year and she got a lot out of it. And we get the registration for free through the PACE training, or PACE that we pay every year. It's about $10,000.
I'd be willing to move that one over to maintenance.
Right, and I think we've often said that we want training for staff, as much training as we can. We would support that, so I agree.
What do you think, Commissioner Schutte? Would you rather wait or?
Oh no, I think that's fine.
Okay. The reclass, I don't feel like that is an appropriate thing to approve, right? You know, through the.
A reclass is not done through a budget.
The licensing and recording professional services and training, there was 1,700, and there just wasn't any reasoning on there, any justification. There's 6 months of succession planning, 30,000.
Well, let's go back to the license and recording professional services and training. If that's truly what it's for, I have no problem with that going into maintenance.
Is that for staff?
I believe so. I mean, there wasn't an explanation, so I wasn't.
License and recording professional service training.
Maybe I would want. I feel like an explanation should go with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think looking at everything else on the list there, I think there's nothing on there that I see that I would move over to maintenance right now that I would prefer to have a presentation on.
Then I'll agree.
Okay, so just the Tyler training, 4,800.
Yeah.
So for emergency management, they're asking for $10,175. They had small tools, 1,500. And actually, I sent out an email to John and Diane, and Diane asked me to remove that, but it was after this had been turned in. So I don't think they're requesting that any longer, the 1,500.
Are they requesting the preparedness conference? That seems like a lot of money for such a small department.
Yes, they are requesting the preparedness conference.
And I'd like to hear from them later on that.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, and then Human Resources has 3,500 in travel and IT trackable equipment. And I don't remember if there was an explanation on that or not. We can revisit that.
Well, travel is probably for their conferences and stuff. The trackable equipment, I wouldn't know what that is though.
Yeah, we can do that as part of our whole presentation.
Okay.
The clerk's office had $368,204 in revenue, in addition to their normal revenue, and so I just felt like it needed an explanation. And then the expenditure is $172,640. That was over and above that I didn't get any explanation for, so I wanted to make sure that we received some sort of explanation for that. So I listed out here the revenue and then the expenditures. So for Blake, they put in $100,000 in revenue and expense. And that, I just felt like that was maybe excessive now that the Blake reimbursements are handled by AOC or by the state, I mean.
Yeah, all of those are online now. They can just go online and fill it out themselves. So it goes through AOC. So I'm curious curious.
I think we get reimbursed for some of the time that we spend doing it, but I'm not sure what those totals would look like, Jen.
Yeah, it just seemed really excessive for $100,000 in time. So I thought that needed an explanation.
Yeah. We'll just hold off for the explanation.
Okay. And then there's like LFO court reimbursement and filing fees that weren't in there in previous budgets. So I just am asking, is that new revenue? Like, where's that coming from? They have passports for $35,000, but my understanding is that that office is not taking passports at this time. So I don't know how they could get the revenue unless they're planning on starting up passport services again next year, maybe.
I don't know. I thought it was all agreed that didn't work. So if they are, I'd have to hear from them.
It sounds like all of this would need to, in my opinion, we need explanations because these are significant amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes too, I don't know what is connected to other parts of the PLR requests. So I think there's probably some more discussion needed on the remainder of these.
And I think all new FTEs should be discussed by them. So I have no problem going down to where you're at the bottom here. And
okay. So we can move on. Support services, yeah, we talked about those FTE requests. The district court is asking for the deputy admin clerk. Parks and Trails is asking for a maintenance person, and then they would reduce extra help if approved, and then 1 month of succession planning. Prosecutors asking for 2 clerical staff, and then IT trackable equipment, $22,000. The coroner has $6,000 in IT trackable equipment and death investigation equipment. And then
before you go too far down on that one here on the sheriff's department, you did the coroner, but on the sheriff's department, I would think that the training new deputies is an end all number, that we have to get them trained for corrections and for the other. So if there's an increase in cost, I'd like to know, is that something you see also as an increase in cost that we haven't covered before?
I mean, most likely they have some things in here that are maintenance level items that just need to be moved over. Yeah, training deputies, I think it's pretty, no brainer, right? That they have to have that training. And so, but I wasn't positive. Like
and the same with the jail control board and lock inspections. I don't think that's anything new or special. It has to be covered. The question is, did they cover it in another line last time?
So I was going to ask if that particular training line for new deputies, is that related to the 2 FTEs that they requested, or is that
Yeah, I wasn't sure, and
relative to other open positions?
I'll reach out to the sheriff and see what that's related to.
Well, and some of the discussion, I mean, can happen if they make, I mean, hopefully they're scheduling some time with us in a workshop. We can have those conversations in a workshop as well.
That works.
Yep.
In Superior Court, they were asking for an increase to the court commissioner and then bailiff's wage increase, and then replacing old cameras. That was recommended by IT, and then or according to Superior Court, it was recommended by IT.
Well,
And
this last year, we did an adjustment to the court commissioner and we did an adjustment to the bailiff wages. Is that just putting in there what we've already done, or are they asking for something different?
I believe they're asking for an increase. I went in and looked at the bailiffs, and I believe they're making $17 an hour, and this is asking for them to receive $20 an hour. So I'll go
Didn't
back.
we just do that raise this year, commissioners, or is it me? We also did, I think we did about a $12,000 raise for the court commissioner.
I know we did the court commissioner, but I'm not sure about the bailiffs. I don't remember, honestly.
Yeah, I don't recall off the top of my head either.
No, I have to wait for them to tell us.
But I might be getting my wires crossed between IT steering committee and this, but I also thought we already agreed to do the cameras. Or was that just jabs?
I thought that was just jabs, but I might be wrong. I don't know. I'll reach out to TJ on that.
Other than that, the 10% for risk pool, we're getting the increase. We'll be lucky if it's only 10. I think that's maintenance.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I thought so. I just didn't want to assume that.
Yep.
Okay, and then on therapeutic court, they had a grant that ran out. So the grant expired. So now they have this FTE that was grant funded and other items related to their therapeutic court services that were grant funded. And so they're asking for $284,663 to fund that through TST rather than the grant. So they can explain that too better than me.
Yep.
And that's all that we have for the general fund. Do you want to go over the special funds?
You got to move over the 10% in the maintenance?
Yeah, I'll move that over, the 128,000.
Mark, I don't see anywhere of a mention of the animal control. Is that coming up in the future, or what are we thinking?
I think he might be on the phone.
Oh, he is on the phone.
Yeah, I did.
That's right. Go ahead and move forward, and we'll get back to him later.
Okay, yeah, I put together a cost estimate on the animal control, and we had talked about putting it in, but it's not included in this.
I would have to, I'm not sure where it would actually go, but that will definitely be a PLR that we'd be bringing it in. So,
okay,
I don't know where we'd like to put it, but there are also some other challenges that we have to deal with. So yes, you should see that in there, or will in the future, if Jen lets me turn it in.
What else you got, Jen?
I have it. I mean, I just need to know where to put it.
Yeah.
I guess I can put it at the bottom, but I wasn't going to choose for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the special funds, we'll go over their PLRs. They don't have very many. So we have the sales and use tax that we talked about this morning, $9,000 award to EDC. So I can move that into maintenance, right,
okay.
Commissioners?
Yep.
And then in County Road, we just had a few items. IT trackable equipment, 15,000. They had increased their intern, which I assumed that would be a maintenance level item, but didn't want to do that without them or us talking about it. So they have their capital machinery, 850,000, and I don't know what that entails. So I think they need to come and explain what they're purchasing. Construction of capital assets, 75,000, and capital software, 235,000. For the landfill, they have OT of 18,000, and then replacing booths and tipping floors at all stations, 360,000. And then for all their utilities, the water and sewer utilities, they had an increase in their revenue that has not been approved by the board, I don't believe. And so I wanted to make sure that was okay. So I wanted to make sure that was shown as a PLR here.
And I think the over time we could do the same thing that we're doing with the other departments.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely do that with the overtime. And then North Bay Sewer.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, rate increase and stuff like that.
Yeah, the rate increases, I think they need to be approved before they're put into the budget. And then they just had some facility improvements and things in their facilities that I thought they could come and explain. Okay. And for ER&R, they have 300,000 in capital machinery and equipment that they should explain what that is. So that's all there is for the special funds. So that's all that I have for you at this point, commissioners. I didn't get to filling out all my different charts, and so I'll try and have that ready for next week for you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. You too. Hope you feel better soon.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our agenda other than commissioner discussion. Do we have any?
We not. I do. I don't remember what it is.
Well, it's past lunchtime. We're all getting hangry.
Madam Chair, I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
All right. We're adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Tomorrow.